Your new favorite women's basketball pod has arrived. Join broadcasters, hoopers, and friends Meghan McKeown
and Zora Stephenson for Got Next, a weekly show dedicated to all things women's basketball.
We'll share our power rankings during the college season, get you up to speed on the biggest stories. Of course, we'll tell you who's got next. Think up-and-coming player or team, and you'll hear from players and coaches too.
Speaking of players, Zora played at Elon University.
And Meghan was a guard at Northwestern. Now we travel the country every week calling games, but this year we want to take you with us. I still have the confetti from Caitlin Clark's record-breaking game in my backpack.
Remember, it took us like 2 hours to get into the parking lot that game?
We almost missed the game. Clearly, this pod won't be all about ball.
Yeah, remember when you woke me up at 4 a.m. freaking out about a tornado in Columbus, Ohio?
We came downstairs in our pajamas and sat there for like an hour. That day solidified our friendship.
We've got stories for days, by the way.
If you can't tell, we love this game and we can't wait to share it with all of you. Got Next, weekly on the NBC Sports YouTube page or wherever you get your podcasts. Meghan's jamming. I'm smiling from ear to ear. Welcome in to Got Next, everyone. What started as us just going back and forth, chit-chatting like we always do, is not just an idea anymore. It's a reality with a logo and music. We are so excited. This is all fueled by our love of ball. We've been playing basketball as long as we can remember.
Yeah.
Are we still playing?
Some days.
Some days are better than
I
others.
retired to horse only.
And now we travel the country talking all about women's basketball. And with the rise of the game right now, we thought, what better time?
We are like the friends, everyone sits down, they're like, oh, let's, start a podcast over a couple glasses of wine. And then we actually were able to bring this to fruition. We're so excited that NBC Sports was like, yeah, let's do it, because women's basketball is at a peak right now. And it's so exciting that everybody else is finally realizing how good of a game and a product this is right now, coming off the WNBA season, going into college hoops. We are primed for another big year. Also, shout out to you for matching our set. How cool does this look? And Zora, I mean, she just looks like she came with the set.
If you
it's
can't
perfect.
tell what my favorite color is, I did like Northwestern.
I know. Well, listen, Wildcat, you don't have to convince me purple's a good color. Come on.
And we travel the country every single week, covering games. And so this year we're like, let's bring all of our new friends, that would be you all, with us as we break down things. Meghan is going to do power rankings. I'll contribute here and there. We'll share stories of our travels. We've got crazy stories. And we're going to talk to some awesome guests, coaches, players, analysts. And we're kicking everything off with a preview of 5 different conferences.
I'm so excited about this, by the way. And it's one of those things where we want everybody who is listening to this, watching this at home, depending on how you're getting your podcast, to feel like the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Women's basketball, there's a lot of teams. There's so many incredible storylines this year. There's so much talent. We want to bring that all to you in a way that's easily digestible.
If you're new to the game, join us. And if you've loved it forever, you can join us as well. There's a little bit for everyone. So, Got Next, your new favorite weekly podcast, drop in every Tuesday. Let's do this, friends.
Let's do it, girl.
It is very much a new era in the Big Ten. We go from logo threes and sold-out arenas in Iowa City to hopefully much of the same when it comes to fans, just out west a little more, and maybe a little bit more of a game inside the perimeter. We got a lot of additions in the Big Ten.
Good thing that you have diamond medallion status now on Delta to fly out
waiting to get
Los
that in.
Angeles. That's a big deal for us broadcasters when you get big time status on your airlines. Not to take all the steam away from you, just trying to give you a little bit of a shout out with your airline status. Oregon, UCLA, USC, Washington. Welcome to the Big Ten. It truly did get bigger. The new Big Ten Conference commercial makes me laugh as you see the schools pop up from coast to coast, Pacific all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. It's wild because you look at these 4
Every
teams.
climate, the Big Ten has it.
Listen, if you want it, big life, big stage, Big Ten is their motto, and there you have it. Traditional powerhouses in women's basketball. You think about Cheryl Miller and Lisa Leslie with USC. Back in the day, UCLA and Meyer Drysdale, like legendary teams. You have Washington, Kelsey Plum played at Washington, was at the time, became the all-time leading scorer in Division I women's basketball. And Oregon was in the Final Four in 2019. So you have these powerhouse women's basketball teams coming in and building upon one of the best years in Big Ten women's basketball last season.
Coming into the season, the highest ranked team in this conference is USC. Thanks to who? JuJu Watkins.
Well, JuJu Watkins, unless you've been living under a rock, maybe. This is who you need to know. JuJu Watkins set a record for a single-season freshman in scoring in the country, more than 900 points. Last year, if you looked at the scoring stats, who was leading the nation in scoring, it went back and forth between Caitlin Clark and JuJu Watkins. She's the smoothest game I've ever seen. Everything about her, the way she moves is smooth. The way she handles the ball is smooth. Her ability to not get rushed. I just got rushed saying that word. JuJu Watkins would not. She's so smart with the ball in her hands, and she can play off of 2 feet. She's balanced, she's poised. Everything that you want in a basketball player on the perimeter, JuJu Watkins has, and she had it as a freshman. And now in her sophomore year, I cannot wait to see what she's been working on. I
see her game, and I think fluid. Right? Yeah. And it's wild to say that when we got a chance to talk to her at Big Ten Media Day and how she's even more patient and how she worked on not rushing. She's got a new partner in crime, too. Kiki Iriafen transfers from Stanford to USC. Let's take a listen at how the two superstars are gelling already. How do you think that you and JuJu will mesh your games?
We're already meshing super well, and I would say we haven't even played that much together, but I think the chemistry, I think we're just hoopers, and we're able to play off of each other. She's able to find me, I'm able to find her, so it's only going to continue to get better. I think pick and rolls with us will be really scary.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah, oh my gosh, how do you guard it?
We got your teammate Kiki here with us today.
Yes.
What's one thing people don't know about her?
One thing is that her favorite cake is red velvet.
Oh, mine too.
That's a good choice. What's your favorite cake?
Probably, I'm basic, probably vanilla.
Which is fine, I guess.
I like vanilla too, by the way, for what it's worth.
Red velvet.
This
is why we
we're like Kiki and JuJu. I also love how basically we gave JuJu an opportunity to be like, like poke fun at her teammate, and she like went the nice route and was like, oh, her favorite. If you want to get Kiki a cake, red velvet's her favorite.
I love the camaraderie between those two already, though. And it seems that they have had the opportunity to get in the gym. So it'll be exciting to see how it translates into competition against other opponents.
I love hearing Kiki Iriafen talk about that pick and roll action between her and JuJu, because Kiki Iriafen is the type of player you want to be in a pick and roll with. She's so smooth and smart. She can hit that mid-range or short corner jumper. She can get to the basket. She's really athletic for her position. Averaged a double-double at Stanford last season. And somebody who has that experience in the postseason at a high level of success, and she's going to fit perfectly into Lindsay Gottlieb's system.
Expectations for USC?
This is a team coming into the Big Ten who I'm expecting to be the favorite to win it all, the conference that is, to make a really deep run, be a Final Four team. They've added some really nice pieces, and a team that, again, has that experience piece. You have the JuJu Watkins of the world, the Kiki Iriafen, and then you add in Talia van Olhoeven from Oregon State, who is really solid on the perimeter. There's just a lot of different pieces. Rhea Marshall is also back for them, a post player down low who averaged 10 a game last season. So they have that experience. And then McDonald's All-Americans. I called the McDonald's All-American game back in the spring. It felt like every single player in the game was either going to USC or UCLA, but USC got 3 of them coming in who I'm expecting to maybe get some minutes early on, and we'll just kind of see how the chips fall. But USC has come in as a top team in this conference and somebody I'm expecting to be in contention to win it all.
We'll keep our conversation in Southern California because it seems like a
Why not?
good place to be.
I wish I was there right now hanging out.
Especially in the fall, heading into winter. Another team that's got a top ranking coming into the season, UCLA, and they are motivated to get farther than they did a season ago.
I called UCLA's NCAA tournament first and second rounds 2 years ago, and I was laughing when I was looking at the roster again for this season because not much has changed. Charisma Osborne did graduate, go to the WNBA, but you still have Kiki Rice back, Lauren Betts. Lauren Betts is 6'7". Also, shout out to Lauren Betts because she gave me my new Starbucks order, the apple crisp oat milk macchiato. I get it every time. That's what she suggested. I get. And Kiki Rice, a DMV kid, just like me and Zora coming in. And Kiki Rice, very similar in terms of how smooth her game is. I love her mid-range jumper. She's somebody who can handle the ball, high basketball IQ. She can get to the basket. A really fun player to watch if you're just a fan of the game. She's really pure in how she plays the game. And Lauren Betts has some of the best footwork in the country in terms of bigs. She gets to her spots. Even when you push her off her spot, she has such quick footwork that she can still get into the right position and have an advantage scoring the ball. That's going to be quite the 1-2 punch for Corey Close at UCLA this season.
Coaches all around the conference, when we asked them about the additions of USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, they were like, well, the size that they bring, and that was a direct nod to Lauren Betts.
Are you kidding me? Like, and Filipina Che, too, at Oregon, who's 6'7", 6'8". There's a lot of size now coming into the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten is traditionally a conference where you do see that traditional back-to-the-back post player. I think back to, the Megan Gustafsons at Iowa. They're out off the top of my head. I can't think of any more right now. But there's been that traditional kind of back-to-the-back Mackenzie Holmes in Indiana last year. Now you're adding in more size, and teams are really going to have to figure out, how do you guard a Lauren Betts? Like, do you throw two at her? Do you maybe look to play a zone? Do you...
At a time in the game where the perimeter is
so
as
big.
hot as ever.
We're moving to positionless basketball, which is a lot of fun. You've seen it kind of in the NBA, and you've seen it trickle down into women's college basketball. And even in the WNBA, you have to be able to play on the perimeter if you're a post player, pretty much. Look what A'ja Wilson has done in her game over the course of her WNBA career. She's unstoppable.
That's one comparison that we had to Kiki over at USC, and we asked her about it. And I was researching, I was looking at some of Kiki's highlights from Stanford. I text Meghan, I'm like, does she remind you of A'ja Wilson? She's like, yeah, I think you have something going. So then we asked Kiki about it, and she co-signed. She said A'ja Wilson is her favorite player and someone she tries to model her game after. So if that's not a teaser of what you can expect to see from Kiki at USC and the Big Ten this season, let's continue to move on. Okay. Because we've talked a lot about the newcomers, but who are the sleeper teams? I think it has to be some of the teams that have been in the Big Ten for a while that deserve some more flowers.
Sleepers in terms of who's going to be really good in the Big Ten this season, who has been in the conference for a long time. You're looking at Ohio State, first and foremost. Cody McMahon is back, one of my favorite players in college basketball. You cannot guard her when she has the ball going with a full head of steam down in the paint. You either got to move out of the way or try to take a charge. Good luck. They add in some really nice pieces freshman-wise. Jelani Cambridge is going to be one of the favorites for newcomer freshman of the year in the Big Ten. They have Taylor Theory back as well for Ohio State. And look, Kevin McGuff understands how to win this conference. Ohio State was the outright champ last year in the Big Ten. They will press you for 40 minutes, and they mix up their presses. They'll go 1-2-2, 2-2-1, and the timing is so good in terms of players deciding to come up and trap. Then a player drops into the back. Cody McMahon is like a D-back in coverage when she's in that press, reads it beautifully. And then Jelani Cambridge coming in as a freshman. She's quick, she likes to play defense, and she's going to be impossible for defenders to stay in front of.
How is the regular season champ from a season ago asleep? I mean, that just talks to all the movement in the conference.
We haven't even talked about Indiana, a team that added Shea Chesky from Penn State, who was a really good shooter for the Lady Lions last season. Caroline Strickland from Tennessee also coming in. When you also return Yarden Garzone and Chloe Moore-McNeil and Sydney Parrish from Indiana, so they have experience back. Maryland, we talked to Cheyenne Sellers at Media Day for a long time, and she has me convinced that Maryland's going to be one of the top teams, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country. They added so many faces from the portal. I'm stoked to see what Brenda Frese has in store for us. And I tell you what, there's three guarantees in life: death, taxes, Brenda Frese in March. Because even when you think Maryland might be down, which last season a lot of people were counting them out as contenders in the Big Ten, she still found a way to get her team to go on this great run in the Big Ten tournament and ultimately still make the NCAA tournament.
The name of our show, Got Next, and when we asked you who's next up, you listed Nebraska and Illinois.
I did.
Why?
Illinois returns pretty much everybody. Camille Hobby graduates, but returning a starting five, or four rather, of the last starting five from last season. It's crazy to think that Makaira Cook and Genesis Bryant still have, and they still have eligibility, which is absolutely crazy to think. But they are a team that underperformed last season. 2 years ago when Shauna Green took over the program, Illinois has this fantastic year, go to the NCAA tournament for the first time in what felt like forever. Then last season, Micaiah Cook got hurt early on, and then Illinois could just never get their footing. However, they did make it to the first WBIT and ended up winning the whole entire thing, which gives your team so much confidence moving into the next season. And then Nebraska went on a fabulous run at the end of last season. Alexis Markowski is back and ready to have a great senior year. I know, I feel like she's also been there forever because she's played so much since her freshman year. They've added a great freshman in Britt Prince that comes in. Natalie Potts is back for Nebraska as well. Nebraska and Iowa played in the Big Ten tournament championship game, went down to the wire last year. And actually, Nebraska beat Iowa last season as well, went to the NCAA tournament, and a team that's been able to add some other pieces that are going to be really good in Lincoln, Nebraska this year.
We, of course, follow the Big Ten closely here at NBC and Peacock because we got a number of games on our network. So really excited just to see the shift in the conference and how the style of play will evolve with the new additions. I don't just call her Meghan McKeown. I also call her the mayor of this conference because, yeah, well, that's my job.
Nice
and it's authentic and true. She knows everyone, everything, every team. And that's why she's more qualified than anyone to give predictions. And this conference is hard. I'll give that to you in terms of, like, especially with all the transition in it. But it seems that maybe some of the championships have moved out west.
That's
Your thoughts?
true. Also, to think that we haven't even talked about Iowa yet is crazy.
Wild.
But I will answer your question first. I just wanted to note how crazy the Iowa thing was.
Do you want, okay, get into this and then we'll have a moment for Iowa at the end.
JuJu Watkins is going to be, I mean, she's likely a favorite for National Player of the Year with Paige Beckers at UConn. I will be shocked to see if anyone thinks that USC or UCLA are not Final Four contenders at this time. And the Trojans, right now, to me, are the favorites to win the Big Ten. We'll see what happens throughout the course of the season, because here's what's going to be interesting. We haven't factored in the travel aspect yet. And yes, like, these players are going to be able to charter, which is huge because, as you know, you finish a game, you shower, you get your food on the bus, you go straight on the plane, you fly home. But I mean, we're talking about in the Big Ten or back when the Pac-12 was with these teams, the flights were at most maybe like 2.5, 3 hours. Now you're having
Maryland
cross-continental
and
trips.
USC. Yeah, like, you think that's
like 6 hours. I mean, like, you can get to London faster from New York, I think, than you can get to Los Angeles, which is insane to think. So I'm curious how the travel is going to play a role, if it will at all. Who knows? But that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on throughout the Big Ten season.
Okay, now a moment for the Hawkeyes and the city that was our second home a season ago because we were there so much.
I'm surprised we didn't have to report on our taxes. We were in Iowa City so much last year. Zora and I have all the restaurant recommendations. If you need it, tweet at us, whatever. We will hook you up. First off, Lisa Bluder retires. And kind of surprising, not a lot of people, I think, saw it coming. Lisa Bluder had gone to back-to-back national championship games, obviously with Caitlin Clark and company, but she retires and Jan Jensen takes over, who is one of our favorite people in college basketball.
A great human being.
Great human being, but also an excellent X's and O's coach. And it was the right decision for Iowa, and I'm so happy that they didn't even make a fuss about it, just automatically named Jan Jensen as the head coach after Coach Bluder retired. Caitlin Clark's no longer in college basketball, guys.
If you didn't know.
In case you didn't know. Zora and I called like 12 Caitlin Clark games last year in Iowa. But it's going to be interesting to see this new era because it's not Lisa Bluder's team necessarily. Jan Jensen probably going to use a lot of the same concepts from Coach Bluder, but also put her own unique spin on it. And now you have not only no Caitlin Clark, but Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall. Like, those three players have been in the starting five for the last 4 or 5 years for the Hawkeyes. So now you have Hannah Stolke back, which is massive, one of our favorite players to watch and also just to talk to in the Big Ten. And she's now in a leadership position as a junior and someone who started out really shy. She's talked to us about this and has had to really find herself and find her voice as a leader and done a really nice job of doing that. They get Lucy Olson from Villanova, who last year, JuJu Watkins, Caitlin Clark, then Lucy Olson was the number 3 scorer in the country at more than 23 points a game. I'm interested to see how Lucy Olson matches up against some of these Big Ten defenses. Big East and Big Ten, just different ball games in terms of the physicality and the quickness that you see in defenders on the perimeter. But make no ifs, ands, buts about it. Like, Lucy Olson's a bucket, certifiable when she's walking. It's going to be a different look, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
What I'm fascinated to see is how some of the other players on Iowa's roster, I'm thinking like a Sydney or Fulter, get to showcase the skill sets that they've had, but they were just in a different role.
Shout out to Sydney Fulter after last season. Molly Davis goes out kind of towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
They were hoping to maybe get her back at some point. Unfortunately, it ended up being a season-ending injury. But Sydney Fulter is like the type of player everybody should want on their team because she like dives on the floor for every loose ball. She sets screens, she boxes out, she gets rebounds. She does all like the dirty work that you don't want to like do, but she does it with so much pride, and it has made a huge difference for Iowa.
Yeah, so a lot of things cooking in the Big Ten. I know we can't wait to continue to follow it. And the best news is you get to follow it with us along this season with our brand new podcast, Got Next. New episodes dropping every Tuesday.